The strange roommate. The dormitory of the Interstellar Academy was never quiet. Ships came and went, students of 100 worlds moved through the halls, and the walls themselves hummed with power from alien reactors. Alex, a young human student, stood at the entrance to his new room with one suitcase in hand. He had imagined this moment many times. The first day at the galaxy's most famous academy. The place where humans stood side by side with advanced alien civilizations. He felt nervous, but also proud. When the door slid open, he saw his new roommate. She was tall, almost a head taller than him, with silver skin that shimmered like metal under the lights. Her dark eyes glowed faintly, and her posture was sharp, almost military. She was not human, that much was clear. Alex had read about her kind in the Academy's guidebook. They were called the Zirathai, a warrior race known for strength, discipline, and pride. They believed emotions were weaknesses, and they never laughed except in battle victories. The alien girl turned to him slowly. Her gaze swept over his plain human clothes and his nervous smile. For a moment, she said nothing, only studied him with a cold expression. Then she spoke, her voice smooth but edged with arrogance. "So you are the human." Alex forced a smile. "Yeah, that's me, Alex." He reached out a hand in greeting, but she only stared at it as if it were some strange tool she didn't recognize. She did not shake it. Instead, she crossed her arms and tilted her head. "I am Zara of the Zirathai," she said, her tone heavy with pride. "I did not expect to share quarters with a species that still struggles with basic biology." Alex blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. "Basic biology," he repeated. Zara smirked, revealing sharp teeth. "Your kind breeds like animals," she said, almost amused. "Slow, messy, and filled with unnecessary emotions. It is a wonder your species survived long enough to reach the stars." The words hit Alex harder than he expected. He had heard whispers before that many alien races saw humans as primitive, but hearing it spoken directly with such open disdain made his chest tighten. Still, he refused to show weakness. He placed his suitcase on the bed and replied calmly, "Well, I guess we must be doing something right if we're here now. Same as you." Zara gave a short laugh, sharp and mocking. It was the first time Alex had heard a Zirathai laugh, and it carried no warmth. "You mistake luck for strength, human," she said. "Your people cling to families, to children, as if love will protect you. But when the universe tests you, when survival demands sacrifice, emotions will break you." Alex sat down on the edge of the bed, pretending her words didn't sting. He had grown up in a small human colony where family was everything. He remembered his mother working 2 jobs to keep food on the table, his father fixing broken machines late into the night. To him, family was strength, not weakness. But he said nothing, choosing instead to watch Zara. Something about the way she spoke made him curious. Her pride sounded real, but behind it, he thought he saw a shadow of fear. As the day went on, Alex noticed more about his new roommate. Zara organized her belongings with military precision, every item in perfect order. Her weapons collection, though limited by Academy rules, was cleaned and placed with care. She moved like someone who expected danger at any moment. Yet when she thought Alex wasn't looking, she would pause, stare at the Academy window, and her expression would soften into something else. Loneliness, maybe. Alex wasn't sure. That night, as they both prepared to sleep, Zara spoke again, her voice calm but firm. "You should not expect friendship from me, human," she said. "We are only roommates, nothing more. Do not mistake my tolerance for respect." Alex looked at her, the dim light of the room casting shadows across her metallic skin. He almost laughed at the way she said it, as if she were warning him not to hope. But instead, he only replied quietly, "Fair enough, Zara. We'll see how it goes." Zara gave him one final smirk before turning away. Her laughter still echoed in his mind, cold, sharp, and mocking. But Alex could not shake the feeling that one day, that laughter would change. He didn't know how. He didn't know when. But something about this strange roommate told him their story was only beginning. Mockery and tension. The next few days at the academy were not easy for Alex. Living with Zara was like living beside a storm, calm one moment and sharp the next. She carried herself with the pride of her warrior people, and every time she looked at him, he felt like a bug under her gaze. The first clash came during the academy's welcome dinner. All new students were gathered in the main hall, a vast chamber filled with tables shaped to fit the many different alien forms. Some students sat in pools of liquid, others perched on metal supports, while others hovered slightly above the ground. Alex sat quietly at the human table, eating the food provided. Across from him, Zara sat tall, her silver skin catching the light, her expression unreadable. A group of alien students joined them, curious about the human. One was a scaled reptilian with yellow eyes, another a bird-like creature with long feathered arms. They asked questions about Earth, about humans, and Alex answered politely, trying not to embarrass himself. Then the topic shifted. The reptilian tilted his head and asked, "Is it true that humans reproduce by mixing genetic codes through physical joining?" He spoke the words slowly, as if the idea was too strange to believe. Before Alex could answer, Zara burst out laughing. The sharp, mocking sound carried across the hall, drawing stares from nearby tables. "Yes," Zara said, smirking. "Humans use primitive bodies to breed. They cling to partners, to emotions, to small, helpless offspring. It is slow, it is inefficient, and it makes them weak." Her words cut through the room, and Alex felt heat rise in his face. Some of the other aliens chuckled nervously, unsure if they should laugh or stay silent. Alex put down his fork, his hand steady even though his heart pounded. "It may look slow to you," he said carefully, "but our way works. We've survived wars, famine, even near extinction. We endure because we fight for our families, for the people we love." Zara leaned forward, her eyes glowing faintly in challenge. "That is the problem. Human, you fight for feelings. But feelings do not win wars. Strength does, strategy does, efficiency does. If your people ever face a true enemy, your emotions will betray you." Alex met her gaze, refusing to look away. "Or maybe," he said, "our emotions are the reason we win. When others give up, we don't. Because we have someone to fight for." The hall grew quiet for a moment, the tension between them thick as the weight of a blade. Then the bird-like alien gave a soft laugh to break the silence. "Strange species, these humans," it said, "so fragile, yet so certain of themselves." Zara leaned back, satisfied, her mocking smile returning. "Certainty is not survival," she said. "We will see how long your fragile ways last." After the dinner, the whispers began. Alex noticed other aliens looking at him differently, some with curiosity, some with pity, some with amusement. Zara had planted the seed of mockery, and now it spread like fire. Wherever Alex walked, he heard comments, small jokes about humans raising children, about messy reproduction, about weak biology. Each word stung, but Alex refused to react. He had learned long ago that anger only gave bullies more power. One night, back in their room, Alex decided to confront Zara. He sat at his desk while she cleaned her weapons, each blade shining under the lamp. "Do you enjoy making me a joke?" he asked quietly. Zara didn't look up, her voice calm but firm. "It is not personal, human, it is truth. The galaxy laughs at weakness, and I'm only saying what everyone already knows." Alex turned in his chair to face her fully. "You think love makes us weak, but one day you'll see it's the opposite. You'll see that it's the reason we keep standing when stronger species fall." For the first time, Zara hesitated. Her hand froze on the blade she was polishing, and for a split second, Alex thought he saw something flicker in her eyes. Doubt, maybe, or even fear. But then it was gone, replaced by her usual smirk. "You speak with fire, human, but fire burns out. Strength endures, feelings fade." Alex didn't reply. He only watched her. Somewhere deep inside, He knew her words came not from confidence, but from something else, a hidden truth she refused to admit. And in that silence, he felt a strange certainty. One day, her laughter would stop, not because she wanted it to, but because reality would force her to see what humans truly were. The debate turned serious. Days passed, but the tension between Alex and Zara only grew. Every small conversation felt like a battle, every shared space like a silent duel. Zara mocked. Alex stayed calm, yet each word between them was sharp enough to cut. One evening, the Academy announced a cultural exchange night. It was a tradition where students from different species gathered to share history, values, and survival stories. For many, it was a chance to celebrate their people. For Alex, it was a chance to prove humans were more than a joke. The main hall was arranged in a circle, glowing with soft blue light. Holographic displays filled the room, showing star maps and symbols of different civilizations. Students sat in groups, each taking turns to explain how their species endured through history. When it was the Zirathai's turn, Zara stood tall, her voice clear and commanding. "We are the children of battle," she declared. "My people reproduce through controlled birthing chambers, designed for efficiency and strength. There is no weakness, no delay, no unnecessary bond between parent and child. We live for war, and we die for honor." Her words were sharp and proud, and many nodded with respect. Then came the human's turn. Alex rose slowly, feeling every eye in the room on him. He wasn't the tallest nor the strongest, but his voice carried a steady confidence. "Humans are different," he began. "We are not the fastest, not the strongest, not the smartest. But we survive because of one thing: connection." He spoke of mothers who carried children for months, fathers who sacrificed for families, and siblings who protected each other, even in starvation. He told stories of wars on Earth where soldiers fought not for kings or gold, but for the people waiting for them back home. He spoke of villages rebuilt after disasters, of explorers who risked death to give their children a future. "Our strength," he said, "comes from love. It makes us stubborn. It makes us fight even when logic says we should fall. That is why we endure." The hall was silent when he finished, but Zara's laughter broke it. Sharp, mocking, loud enough to echo off the walls. "You call that strength?" she said, her eyes glowing faintly. "Love is weakness. It blinds you. It slows you. It makes you fragile. When the enemy comes, will you protect your children with words? Will you shield them with feelings?" A few aliens chuckled. Others shifted uncomfortably. Alex's face flushed, but he did not back down. "Maybe love doesn't stop the enemy," he said, his voice steady, "but it gives us a reason to fight until the enemy is stopped. That's the difference between us and you, Zara. You fight because you're told to. We fight because we choose to." The air in the hall grew heavy, like a storm building. The reptilian alien hissed softly, impressed, while the bird-like creature tilted its head with curiosity. Zara's smirk faltered for just a moment, but she quickly hardened her gaze. "You are blinded, human. Your kind clings to fragile ideas. One day, you will learn that survival demands sacrifice without hesitation. Love cannot save you." Before Alex could answer, the lights in the hall flickered. A sudden alarm blared, sharp and urgent, cutting through the debate. Students looked around in confusion as holograms shifted to display flashing red warnings. An academy officer rushed into the hall, her voice tight. All students returned to quarters at once. "A containment breach has been detected in the medical wing." Panic rippled through the room. Aliens speaking in their own languages, some rushing toward exits. Alex glanced at Zara, and for the first time, she did not look arrogant or proud. She looked alert, tense, almost fearful. The debate ended not with words, but with an emergency that none of them understood. As Alex followed the crowd out of the hall, one thought echoed in his mind. Zara could laugh at love. She could call humans weak, but he had seen something in her eyes, a flicker of doubt. And now, with danger rising, He wondered how long her certainty would last. The crisis. The alarm echoed through the academy like a storm. Red lights flashed along the walls, casting strange shadows across the halls. Students hurried in groups, their voices a mix of confusion and fear. Alex followed the crowd back toward the dormitory, his heart pounding. The academy had strict safety systems, and for them to sound an emergency meant something serious. Zara walked beside him, her movements sharp, her eyes scanning every corner. She looked like a soldier preparing for battle, not a student heading to safety. When they reached their room, the door sealed shut behind them with a hiss. The academy's voice filled the air, calm yet urgent. Attention! Containment breach confirmed in medical wing. All students remain in quarters until further notice. Do not attempt to leave. Alex sat down on his bed, trying to calm himself. What do you think happened? He asked, his voice low. Zara's expression was grim, her silver skin glowing faintly under the emergency light. Something dangerous, she replied. The academy would not lock us in unless they feared spread. Hours passed slowly, the academy still on lockdown. Students whispered through communication channels, rumors spreading like fire. Some said a weapon experiment had escaped, others whispered of a biological attack. But one message returned again and again, the word plague. The first sign came when Alex checked the Academy's emergency updates. Certain alien species were listed under quarantine priority, and Zara's people, the Zirathai, were at the top. His eyes widened as he turned to her. It's your species, he whispered. The virus, it affects you more than others. Zara froze, her prideful mask slipping for the first time since he had met her. Her hands clenched tightly, her voice low, almost trembling. That is impossible. We are strong. Our bodies are engineered for survival. No sickness should, but she stopped, unable to finish. Within hours, the Academy confirmed it. The virus targeted genetic markers unique to the Zirathai, bypassing their artificial breeding systems and crippling their immune defenses. What they had believed perfect and efficient was suddenly their greatest weakness. Zara sat on her bed, silent, her eyes fixed on the floor. Her arrogance seemed to drain away with every passing minute. Alex watched her carefully. For the first time, she did not look like a warrior. She looked human, fragile, uncertain. He wanted to speak, to tell her it would be okay, but he held back. He knew Zara would not accept comfort. Not yet. The next day, the Academy allowed limited movement for unaffected species. Alex went to the food station while Zara stayed behind. When he returned, he found her pale, her movements slower, her body trembling as if from fever. She tried to stand tall when he entered, but her legs betrayed her, and she sank back onto the bed. You're sick, Alex said quietly. Zara's eyes burned with frustration. My people, we do not fall like this. We were created to endure. But our chambers, our systems, they are failing. Without them, we are nothing. Alex placed the food on the table, his heart heavy. All her mockery about humans, all her laughter about weakness, it was breaking in front of him. The mighty warrior race was helpless without machines, while humans, fragile as they were, had survived plague for centuries. Families had endured sickness together, healed each other, carried one another through despair. It struck him then, Zara's people had removed emotions from survival, and now they were paying the price. That night, as she lay restless, Zara whispered something he never expected. Her voice was weak, almost human. Tell me, Alex, how do your people survive sickness like this? How do you fight when everything wants to take you down? Alex sat in silence for a moment, then spoke softly. We fight together. We don't abandon the weak. We protect them, even if it costs us. That's what family is, Zara. That's why we endure. She closed her eyes, a faint laugh escaping her lips, but it was not mocking this time. It was broken, uncertain, almost desperate. You make it sound like love is medicine, she whispered. Alex looked at her and nodded. Sometimes it is. Outside their door, The academy alarms continued to echo, the halls still bathed in red light. But inside that small dorm room, a silent war had begun. Not between human and alien, but between pride and truth. And Alex knew that soon, Zara would have to face something far more frightening than any battlefield. The possibility that humans, in their weakness, held the strength her people had never understood. Experience the human way. The academy was no longer the shining place of learning it had been. Its bright halls were now dim, its walls echoing with the sound of alarms and whispers of fear. Every species had its own way of dealing with the crisis. Some hid, some grew aggressive, others tried to flee, but the Zirathai suffered the most. Their breeding chambers, once symbols of perfection, had failed completely under the plague. Their bodies weakened with every hour, their proud voices turned into pained silence. Zara was among them. The once proud warrior who laughed at humans now sat hunched on her bed, her silver skin dull, her strength slipping away. Her pride had been her armor, but it cracked under the weight of her trembling hands. Alex watched her struggle, torn between frustration and sympathy. He remembered her words, the endless mocking about human families, about weakness, about emotions. Now those very things seemed to be the only hope she had. Late one night, Zara's condition worsened. Her breathing grew shallow, her hands shook violently, and for the first time since Alex had known her, he saw fear in her eyes. "Alex," she whispered, her voice broken. "My people, we cannot heal this way. Without the chambers, we cannot survive." Alex knelt beside her, steadying her shoulders. "You're not alone," he said firmly. "My people have faced sickness like this for centuries. We survive because we care for each other. We share the pain, we fight together. And that is what I'm going to do for you." Zara shook her head weakly, her pride still trying to resist. "No, I cannot depend on you. I mock your kind. I laughed at your weakness. I do not deserve your help." Alex's voice hardened. "This isn't about what you deserve. It's about survival. You think humans are weak because we raise children with love, because we hold on to each other when it hurts. But that's what makes us strong, Zara. And now, you're going to see it for yourself." He prepared what little supplies the Academy had provided for cross-species aid, simple medicine, nutrient packs, and old human remedies stored for emergencies. Most aliens ignored them, calling them primitive, but Alex had grown up seeing how such things worked when nothing else did. He helped Zara drink, forced her to eat, cooled her fever with damp cloths. Each time she tried to resist, he held her steady, refusing to let her slip further into despair. At first, Zara sneered weakly, her pride clinging to her voice. "This is foolish sentiment cannot heal a body," she muttered. But as the hours stretched into days, something began to change. She felt strength slowly returning, her body fighting back, guided not by machines but by stubborn care. And in those long nights, when Alex sat awake by her side, she saw something she had never witnessed before. He did not leave her, not once. His patience, his quiet determination, his refusal to abandon her. It pierced through every belief she had carried. One night, as she lay half awake, Zara whispered, "Why? Why do you do this, human? I insulted you. I mocked your people. I spat on your way of life, and still you stay." Alex looked at her, his eyes tired but steady. "Because that's what family does. We don't abandon each other, even when it's hard, even when it hurts. You don't have to be human to deserve that." Her chest tightened at his words, but not from sickness. It was a feeling she had never known. Not strategy, not efficiency, not discipline. Something warmer, heavier, terrifying yet comforting at the same time. She closed her eyes, and for the first time in days, she slept without fear. By the end of the week, Zara's fever broke. Her body was still weak, but the worst had passed. She sat up in bed, looking at Alex as he handed her water. There was no mockery in her eyes now, no prideful smirk. Instead, there was confusion and something close to respect. "You humans," she said softly, shaking her head, You survive not because you are strong, but because you refuse to let each other fall. It is illogical, yet it works. Alex gave a tired smile. Exactly. It doesn't always make sense, but it's why we're still here. Zara stared at him, silent for a long time. Then, to Alex's surprise, a small laugh escaped her lips. But this laugh was different. It wasn't sharp or mocking. It was quiet, uncertain, almost human. She looked down at her trembling hands and whispered, I thought love was weakness. But now, maybe it's the only thing keeping you alive. For Alex, it was the first victory, not against her, but against the wall she had built around herself. And though the plague still raged outside, in that small dorm room, a battle had already been won. The revelation. The academy slowly adjusted to the crisis, but the tension never left the halls. Quarantine barriers still sealed whole wings. Rumors still whispered of students who never recovered. Yet in Alex and Zara's room, something new had taken root. Not just survival, but understanding. Zara's body was healing, though weakness still clung to her limbs. Her strength was returning slower than she liked, but it was there. Each day Alex made sure she ate, drank, and rested. He stayed near, watching over her with quiet patience, never asking for thanks. It unsettled her at first, then confused her, and finally, it humbled her. One evening, as the academy lights dimmed to night mode, Zara broke the silence. She sat on her bed, staring at her hands, still trembling faintly. My people believe efficiency is survival, she said softly. No bonds, no emotions, no wasted energy. Children are born in chambers, raised by systems, trained for war. We thought it made us perfect. Her voice cracked slightly. But in the face of this sickness, all that perfection meant nothing. Without the chambers, we were helpless. Without family, we were alone. Alex didn't answer right away. He simply sat across from her, waiting. When she looked up at him, she found no mockery, no smugness. Only quiet eyes that had seen this truth long before she had. You called us weak because of love, Alex said gently. But love is what kept me awake to take care of you. Love is what made my ancestors fight through plagues and wars. It's what makes us keep going, even when logic says we should fall. That's why we survive, Zara. Not because we're the strongest, but because we refuse to stop caring. Zara's breath caught, and for once, she could not argue. The words pressed against her like a weight. Yet instead of breaking her, they opened something inside her chest. Memories she had never spoken flickered in her mind. As a child, she had sometimes wondered why her people never spoke of parents, why no one hugged, why no one sang to children. She remembered the silence of the chambers, cold and efficient. She had buried those questions long ago under duty and pride. But now, sitting across from Alex, she realized those questions had always been the crack in her people's perfection. She let out a long, shaky laugh, one that startled Alex. But it was not mocking, not sharp. It was strange, uncertain, almost vulnerable. Human, you are dangerous, she whispered. You fight not with weapons, but with something I cannot understand. You fight with feelings, with bonds that should break you. And yet, they make you stronger. Alex smiled faintly. That's humanity. We turn weakness into strength. And we make enemies doubt themselves without even lifting a blade. Her eyes softened, and she tilted her head, studying him as if seeing him for the first time. In the academy, they tell us humans adapt. They say you survive anything, that no matter where you're placed, you endure. I thought it was chance or stubbornness. But now, I see it. It is not chance, it is not luck. It is your bond, your love, your refusal to be alone. The room fell silent again, but the silence felt different this time. Not heavy with tension, but filled with a quiet connection neither had expected. For the first time, Zara did not feel like a superior warrior lecturing a lesser being. She felt like a student learning from someone she had once scorned. As the night deepened, she whispered one more thing. So soft Alex almost missed it. My people mocked you. I mocked you. But now, I envy you. Alex's heart tightened at the words, but he said nothing. He only reached across the small space and placed a hand lightly over hers. Zara flinched and used as such contact, yet she did not pull away. Her sharp pride, her mocking laughter, all the walls she had built, they were crumbling, and in their place, something new was being born. Outside, the academy still fought the plague, but inside that quiet room, the greater battle was already decided. The Zirathai warrior who once laughed at human weakness now saw the truth. That humanity's greatest weapon was not strength, not technology, not strategy. It was love, and it terrified her more than any war ever could. The transformation. The academy eventually brought the crisis under control. Medical teams worked day and night. New cures were developed, and the virus that once threatened whole species began to fade. The alarms stopped, the red lights dimmed, and slowly, the great halls filled again with the noise of life. But for Alex and Zara, something had already changed long before the danger ended. Zara's body regained strength. Her silver skin once again gleamed under the lights, and her warrior posture returned. Yet her eyes no longer held the same cold superiority. They carried something else now, something Alex had not seen before, understanding. One morning, as they sat together in the dorm, Zara spoke quietly, her voice steady but softer than ever. "When I came here, I believed humans were fragile. I believed your way of life was weakness. Now I know I was blind. Your people survived not because you were perfect, but because you refused to give up on each other. And that is something even my people never mastered." Alex looked at her, unsure how to respond. It wasn't an apology, not exactly, but it was more than he had expected. He gave a small smile. "I told you, Zara, we're not the strongest, but we're stubborn. We hold on to each other, no matter what." She gave a laugh, gentle this time, not sharp or mocking. It was strange, almost awkward, as if laughter itself was new to her. But in that sound, Alex heard something powerful, the breaking of the wall she had carried her whole life. Word of the plague and the Zirathai's weakness spread through the academy. Other students whispered that the mighty warrior race had been brought low by something as small as a virus. Zara would have once answered with anger, with pride, but now she only stood quietly, her thoughts different, her pride reshaped. One evening, she walked with Alex to the academy's observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly before them, whole galaxies painted across the black sky. Zara stood still, her eyes fixed on the view, and then she said something Alex would never forget. "When the sickness took me, I thought I would die. I thought my strength, my training, my discipline, none of it mattered. But you stayed. You did not let me fall. Not because of duty, not because of logic, but because of love. That is why I live now. And that is why humans will always endure." Her words hung in the air like a vow. Alex felt a weight lift from his chest. He had not saved her with strength, only with patience, care, and the stubborn heart of his people. But hearing her say it, hearing a Zirathai warrior admit it, felt like a victory greater than any battle. Zara turned to him, her expression serious. "Do not mistake me. Human, I'm still Zirathai. I'm still proud. I'm still a warrior. But now I know what my people have forgotten. Strength without love is empty. Discipline without care is fragile. We thought we were eternal, but we were hollow. Perhaps we must learn from you." Alex nodded, his voice calm. "Maybe one day your people will understand. Maybe one day you'll laugh with us, not at us." For a moment, Zara was silent. Then she gave another laugh, quiet and strange, but no longer cruel. It was the laugh of someone who had seen a truth too big to ignore. The laugh of someone who had once mocked weakness, only to discover that weakness was strength all along. The academy moved on. New classes began. New lessons filled their days. But inside their small dorm room, the story of a human and a Zirathai had left a mark. A bond had been formed, not of duty, not of strategy, but of something greater. And though neither said it aloud, Both knew that bond would shape the path ahead. On their last night, before the new term, Zara sat quietly, staring at the ceiling. Her voice was almost a whisper. "I laughed once at human ways. But now, I understand. You fight for family, for love, for bonds that cannot be measured. And because of that, Alex, I believe your people will outlive us all." Alex smiled, closing his eyes as he lay back on his bed. "Maybe Zara, or maybe we'll outlive everyone together." The room fell into silence, but it was not the silence of tension anymore. It was the silence of trust, of respect, of two lives forever changed. And outside, beyond the academy walls, the stars burned quietly, watching, as if they too knew that something new had begun. Not just survival, but understanding, not just life, but transformation.